everything you need to know about college basketball today, everything that you're going to see today on Game Day and throughout the day and all the action. I'm Jason Fitz, and we'll be here on the ESPN app, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. You can authenticate if you're watching the app and just hang out, stay there all day, and watch all the basketball action you can possibly handle. Now, as I said earlier, it hits harder today because it is the day for Duke, North Carolina. This is one of those rivalries that just resonates. It resonates with all fans of college basketball across the board. And even though these two teams might not be having the season they're used to, it doesn't mean that it's not still incredible. So that's the main matchup we'll get you tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern. You see it right here. This graphic's got it for you. Over the last 45 meetings, we have 108 meetings over the last 45 seasons, I should say. Each team with 54 wins. Look at the balance in points. Look at how balanced this rivalry is. It feels like whenever they're great, they're both great. Whenever they're down, they're both down. But it's rare that we get one of these seasons where things have been more curious. So let's keep breaking it down. Look, even though it might not be the season we're used to from either team, we all know Duke, North Carolina is the rivalry everybody has their eyes on all the time. So we're going to break it down with two of my favorite experts. I'm about to be the dumbest guy in the room. I'm used to that, but it's going to go to another level now. Dalen Cuff, Jay Will joining us. Look, I got one guy that went to Duke. I got one guy that went to Ivy League, Columbia. Like, at this point, what do I stand no chance. You two are smarter than I am. You're more talented athletically, and you're prettier than I am. But we're still going to have some fun. Let's get into this rivalry game, obviously, now that I've made everybody a little uncomfortable. Okay, so Jay Will, let's start with Jack. Well, that's what I'm here to do, Dalen. Come on. Duke hasn't had the most, the best season. They're 7-6. It's at this point, it feels like everything's
You don't have to
just
remind me, Fitz. Thank
well,
you.
yes, I do, because we're just going to go off the rails out of the beginning. I have to make sure the world knows. I own one video cassette my entire life, for my entire childhood. On the side of it, it says UNLV 103, Duke 73. That's the only video cassette I have for my entire childhood. But I never think of that game. No, I think of the game the year after when Duke broke my heart. So, Jay Will, I got to admit, I got a little love right now. It's going tough for Duke. So what's wrong with this program, with this team right now?
I mean, Fitz, it's been one of those years. I mean, right, Dalen? Like, we've seen this with NBA teams. We've seen this. I mean, look at the Miami Heat, what they're dealing with as it relates to, contact tracing and games being postponed. The pandemic has affected college basketball in a major way. And I also think you had things happening throughout social injustice and players trying to utilize their platform more than ever. You combine all that with youth. I think it makes it difficult for the blue blood teams, i.e. Kentucky, the Dukes, that are used to having younger players gel quickly. And I think now for a team that has 6 freshmen, you're waiting for guys like, Jalen Johnson to explode. He had COVID. You're waiting for guys like Wendell Moore to take the next step at this stage of his career. That hasn't really happened to the degree you would think. And I think it's been a challenge for this team. And I also don't think they play defense to the level they should play. But sometimes that happens over time. And it would be curious to see where this team is next year, considering everything they've had to go through this year.
Dalen, stick there for a second. I know we have
totally
another.
Agree with you.
I want to ask you a question about that real quick, because you mentioned the changes this year. How long does it take to integrate your culture, usually, the way you do business for a team, Dalen? Like, how long should that normally take?
Well, with these younger teams, we've seen you need to have the summer workouts that you start in the summer. You need to have all your fall workouts, all your practices. You need all that. And by November, December, they're still not there. Usually by January, they start to hit their stride, whether that's Kentucky or Duke, are the two teams we see most commonly doing this with really young teams. But also, I mean, all recruiting classes aren't equal. Just because you have 5 stars coming out of high school doesn't mean you're Zion or RJ or teams or transcendent guys. Marvin Bagley, we've seen before, Anthony Davis. But those dudes are different. And unfortunately for Duke this year, they don't, like, Jalen Johnson's really talented, but they're not loaded with pros. And that's part of the problem, as with all the inexperienced stuff. Jay, I do want to ask you, because I'm on ACC Network with your boy Booze all the time, Carlos Boozer. And last week, I mean, no shock. He just blindly says Duke will right the ship. Just blindly. It's Coach K, it's Duke. He doesn't care what's going on. He thinks it's going to work itself out. Do you think they can right the ship and get themselves in a tournament?
I mean, down as a fan, right, as a guy that played there, an alumni, of course I want to say that, but I don't know. I think the thing that's been, every time I watch a Duke game this year, I always question, like, oh, who is the de facto leader? Right? Like, who is the extension of Coach K on the floor? And now I'm sure Coach K has more insight to that than I do. But is that Matthew hurt? Like sometimes you're waiting for him to be a little bit more aggressive. Is that Wendell Moore? Is that Jalen Johnson? He's a freshman. Is it, Jeremy Roach that sometimes comes off the bench? Is it DJ Stewart? Like, there's so many young guys. I don't know who's the guy to say, like, hey, this is the way we're doing it. I don't know if they can turn the ship. And I think that's what makes this end of the season kind of push and the ACC tournament very, very imperative.
My first experience being inside Cameron, that's part of what makes this entire rivalry great, is the way the fans sort of react to it. So no fans there this year. How does that impact, in your mind, Jay Will, the way the intensity of this rivalry will feel today?
I mean, Fitz, the only way to really describe it is Cameron Indoor Stadium is like a cathedral, right? It is, we always call it, if Coach K is King Arthur, then all the players are the Knights of the Round Table. And that's how that feel is inside that stadium. Kids are on the floor. There were times when I was in college, I would feel the floor shaking. I would feel it shaking. And it would be hot, it would be dense. And there were times throughout the first half, 10, 12 minutes into the game, if the pace of the game was at the level we wanted it, we would see our opponents put their hands on their knees. And that was always a sign of weakness to us to play even faster. They play even more aggressive. And the fans fed into that frenzy. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses. Every team is going through that to a degree, right? So I think it's something that you have to get over. I think it's something that you have to find a way to manufacture your own energy. But, Dalen, that's hard for young teams to do. It's hard when you don't have, a superstar leader to say, this is how we have to do it every single day. When you're young, you have no idea how to manufacture your own energy every single day.
100%, Jay Will. And that's what some of the Carolina guys, too, older guys that have been through this battle and will bring that energy, bring that knowledge of what this thing's all about. I saw it for the first time in person last year, week before the world shut down. We saw the last one of these with everybody there, courtside. I mean, that was an amazing experience. You played in 8 of these. You're 7-1, mind you. That's pretty good. Any moments stick out to you in this rivalry from your experience, man?
The biggest one for me, Dalen, will probably be, my sophomore year, we played Maryland. And it's funny, even though Duke Carolina was a big rivalry, Maryland was more of a rival that year and the following year because they won the championship the following year as we won it that year. But we lost to Maryland on senior night. Senior night. Shane Batty's senior night. And also on that evening, Carlos Boozer broke his third metatarsal in his left foot. And I swear, I thought the season was over. I mean, we were so debased. We were so hurt after that game. And the next day, we came into practice, and our following game was against Carolina at Carolina. And they had Brendan Haywood, they had Chris Lang, they had Joseph Forte. They had a pretty good squad at that time. And I remember Coach K walking into the locker room that next day of practice when we all thought our season was done. We all thought it was over. And he said, if you blanks, believe in me, we are going to win a national championship. And you can only imagine, Dalen, right? Jay Fitz, we're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? We just lost our best low post player. We don't have anybody else really. And he just said, if you guys believe in me, we're going to win a championship. And we started that day playing the same style that you saw the Golden State Warriors play with Steph, Clay, and KD. We just started shooting a ton of threes, and our personnel fit that style of play. And we went in there, man, I think I had 38 points. We beat them on the road. They were dead tired at the beginning of the second half. And we just took all the wind out of their sail. It was the most rewarding victory I think I've had in my whole career because I wanted to go to school at Carolina. And essentially I got turned down to go to school there because they had Ronald Curry and Joseph Forte, and they also had Ed Cota. So for me, to beat them, to be 7-1 against that team, that meant something to me because I took it personal.
I love the element of
Hold up. They didn't want you? I didn't know this.
Yeah, Dalen, you heard it. I was being recruited by Dean Smith.
That was a big miss.
And then Bill Guthridge took over. And then they had Ronald Curry come in, and then they had Joseph Forte. And they're like, hey, our room at the point guard position is a little bit overbooked. And I met Coach K, and the rest was history.
I love the fact, by the way, that you grew up a Carolina fan, it didn't work out, and your backup school was Duke. Again, pointing to the fact, your backup school was Duke. I'm just saying.
I don't know if it was backup, Fitz. It wasn't backup.
That's how I'm putting it.
Just happened that way.
All right. Obviously, this rivalry gets heated, and, it has consequence. We found this video of your driveway getting TP'd after a Duke loss in 2018. And it has me thinking, because I love a little trash talk and I love a little rivalry. I love the way this can go. Are there any people in your phone that you're avoiding this week because you just don't want to get into the trash talking that comes with UNC Duke?
Fitz, there's so much. I mean, I did the voiceover with Vince Carter, so I was getting notes from Vince Carter. I get notes from guys like Joe Forte. It's always fun for me because my home in Durham, my mom stays there, and I'm always down there. Whenever we would call games, and I used to do college game day, every time we lost to Carolina, even if I picked Carolina to win, there would be toilet paper, just not on my driveway, all over my damn home, all over my home. And the first time it happened, Dalen, you know me, Dalen, I was ready to fight somebody. I'm like, what is going on? I stood in my driveway yelling in my neighborhood. But the next day, it's always cleaned. They always clean it. And it's just, it's a part of that rivalry. And that's the one thing I miss about college basketball. When I was down there, there were so many UNC fans, it didn't matter where you went. If it was the barber, if it was you going to the grocery store, there was always somebody talking trash to you. You can never run away from it. So even if your season is shot, this is still a game that you have to win.
Yeah, I'll say it. Being there last year, I thought I understood this rivalry and what it means when you see it in person. It hits at a different level. Jay Will, we appreciate you getting up early, sharing your stories. You're the best, my friend. Thanks for hanging out with us.
I appreciate you guys, man. Make sure you guys keep killing it, by the way, too. Dalen and Jay, you guys are the best.
Thanks, man.
All right, you guys want to be a part of College Game Day? Go to collegegameday.com to enter for a chance to virtually join Reese, Jay, LaFonso, and Seth this season on College Game Day. You got to do it.
Oh, my goodness, the little man. Rogers just everywhere on the floor. Whoa, Darnell Rogers. Beep, beep.
This kid is a load. Big-time performer.
We love bringing star power from the court to this show, and we're doing it again today. UMBC's Darnell Rogers joining us, and this is awesome. Darnell, we appreciate your time, man. Let's be real, a lot of America still discovering UMBC at this point, still discovering you. So get everybody caught up. Y'all are 11-4, you're 7-3, you're first in the American East. You're averaging 9.3 points per game, but the thing that we just saw there is everybody came in. Little man, you're 5'2". So when you see opponents on the court for the first time, how do they react when they see you?
Well, I'm not really sure how they react, but when they lacing up with us, they got to guard me just like I got to guard them. So it's going to be a tough matchup for them. I know it's tough when they got to guard somebody like me that's fast and quick. And, I can do everything, so.
No doubt. But when you hear the announcers say little man's everywhere, little man, is that a compliment for you at this point, or is that something that you like or don't like?
I don't have a problem with it. If you was one of my friends or something, I wouldn't want you calling me little man, though, once we having conversations and stuff like that.
That makes total sense. Now, you've had a kind of a crazy path to get here. You started out at Florida Gulf Coast, right? Transferred to New Mexico Junior College, then you get to UMBC. So through that process and that journey, what have you learned about yourself?
I just learned you gotta work. You got to put in the work just for the results to show. So just being in the gym, staying focused, and doing your schoolwork and stuff like that too. All that plays a part. You just got to do the right things to be successful.
Well, one of the coolest things that we had as we were getting ready for you is we were looking through it, and we saw a little moment where an NBA legend was all sorts of hype for your highlight reel. This is Tracy McGrady hanging out, watching some of your clips. Check this out.
This man gets buckets. Look at him.
5'2".
Look at him.
A floater off the backboard.
He is averaging 14 a night, friends.
He's a lefty, too. That's cool. Wow. Nope.
Maybe a little. Size doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this. You just look at it.
Did you see that when it happened live?
Yeah, I've seen it. I didn't see it live. People tagged me in it, so, yeah, I got to watch it.
So what's it like when Tracy McGrady's giving you that kind of love?
Man, it's love. I appreciate it.
Have there been other players that have reached out to you to sort of give you some praise along the way?
I'm not really sure. You know, a lot of people reached out to me. You know, like in the comments, I seen Isaiah Thomas said a few things. Chris Paul, I know Chris Paul, so you know, he's always in my ear when we do have a conversation. And you know, I got players in the NBA that's my friend. So
I mean, that's such a cool moment, and I don't know that we necessarily talk to players enough about it. Like for me, in music for a long time when I was touring, like there were certain musicians that if they ever praised my work, it meant a lot. When I got to ESPN, there were people in the halls that if they stopped and said something, it really hit hard. Is there somebody out there that you look at that's sort of one of your idols that when they give you that praise, it means something, it hits you hard?
Well, it would have been Kobe Bryant. That's my favorite player. But rather than that, I would say any of them, any elite player like NBA superstar, if they reached out, it would mean a lot to me.
So we were looking back at some of your past, and there was a game earlier where you led your team in rebounds against Delaware. So what is it about you that gives you that ability to do that?
I mean, just knowing, like, it's self-awareness, knowing where the ball's going to bounce, and then just beating them to the ball.
Well, UMBC sort of caught everybody's attention. We all know this. 2018, they upset Virginia. It's the biggest story in the country, right? So how much, there's only one player left on your team that was part of that experience, but how much does that still resonate within the program?
I mean, it's two of them, actually. And, you know, we talk about it, but we're trying to write our own path this year. So that's really the main focus. We're trying to do better than what they did.
Now, I'm not sure if you saw this yesterday, but Penn State put out a funny graphic in relation to the Super Bowl. When they put the graphic up, it said, a Penn State starter has appeared in every Super Bowl. And in the fine print, it gave you, the 5 that didn't happen. And UMBC had a hysterical response to that. They were our favorite of all of the other schools that sort of trolled the tweet when UMBC tweeted out, a UMBC alum has played in or watched every Super Bowl. You're going to continue the tradition? You got Super Bowl plans at all?
Yeah, we're going to be down in New York playing Stony Brook, so we're going to be in a hotel and be on my team.
You guys going to do anything special to watch together?
I'm sure they'll, cater some good food for us, but, I mean, we're going to be locked in. We're going to have a game the next day. We play on Monday also.
Well, we appreciate your time, man. Watching you do what you do is spectacular. Best of luck going up against Stony Brook. It's been awesome hanging out with you, and great job this season. We hope to continue to see it going all the way through the tournament. Thanks, Darnell.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
It's that time of year. It's time for the Wendys Wooden Watch. And today we're going to focus on Gonzaga's freshman point guard, Jalen Suggs. Obviously, Jalen having an epic year. Look, Gonzaga's having an epic year. We know that. But Jalen, a huge part of this, averaging 13.8 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Shooting an efficient 51.3% from the field for the number one Zags, who blistered out to an 18-0 record, have held the number one slot in the AP poll for all 11 weeks this season. That's the 4th longest streak to start a season in the last 40 years. That's good news for the Zags, by the way, as 4 of the last 5 teams to hold that top spot for so long made it to the Final Four. So part of the fun of the Wendys Wooden Watch is that you get the opportunity to focus on some of the best players throughout the course of college basketball. So we'll get a little help to do that. We're going to bring in our buddy Dalen Cuff again and get some reaction to some of the other finalists that are here on the Wendys Wooden Watch list. And we'll also, of course, get his thoughts on all things important like, Frosties and French fries. So we're efforting Dalen in this moment. Let's start with the important thing, Dalen. Do you dip your French fries in the Frosty or do you keep them separate?
I haven't had a Frosty and probably a French fry in about a decade. But if I did, I would keep them separate. I used to love the Frosty growing up. Wendy's was my spot of any of the fast food joints. So I would go spicy chicken sandwich, Frosty, little extra side of nuggets, and maybe a fries additional. So
okay.
That's my order.
And I appreciate the fact it's part of the reason that you look like a model and I look pudgy is that you don't have these things. But I can't help it. But I'm not a dipper. I want my French fries separate from my Frosty. In the meantime, I think we've got the graphic here, the Wooden Watch, to get you some of the players. Luka Garza, obviously, on that list. 3 Zags players on this list. And this is an opportunity for everybody that's just sort of dipping into the season to see some of the big names that are playing incredibly well right now in the landscape of college basketball. Who stands out to you there, Dalen?
Well, on this list for sure. I mean, you mentioned Jalen Suggs. He's the best freshman in the country. I think he just comes flying out of your screen. But Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State on that first list, He may be the first overall pick, folks. 6'8", freshman, can score at all 3 levels. He's great, been good in late games. Didn't play great in their last game. They lost to TCU, but a really talented player that again, kind of jumps off the screen in terms of guys you have to see. And then Carlik Jones from Louisville that you can see right there. I think it's interesting. He's a grad transfer from Radford. Playing at Louisville, he's getting about almost like 18 points a game, almost 6 assists, 5 rebounds. And this is a guy that came from a small school. I think it's just a point to realize for people, like, you don't have to play at the big boys from jump to be a major player in college basketball. He's been the most important player in Louisville. He is the player of the year in the ACC right now in my mind. So Carlik Jones, although this is Luka Garza's award, like, he's going to win. But let's talk about some other folks along the way.
Well, and that's fair. I mean, it's good to give love to everybody else, but I think we all agree with you about Garza. So one thing we like to do on this show is get everybody caught up on some of what happened last week. Oklahoma, a big story from last week as they rise in the poll. And this is sort of a thing we're getting used to in a COVID world. It feels like there's some big jumps and some big falls sometimes. So what do you make of Oklahoma jumping 15 spots from number 24 to number 9?
They're big opportunities in the Big 12 and the Big 10. You got, especially the Big 12, you got top 10 teams on top 10 teams, and they beat them all except for Texas. They lost to Texas in their last outing, but Oklahoma, Lon Kruger's crew, they spaced the floor excellently. They got guys like Davian Harmon that go create themselves a shot. They won a lot of those games. They won all those games really without Austin Reeves, who's their leading scorer. So they got guys stepping up and coming and playing into roles. They lost to Texas Tech in what was an absolute shootout on Monday in terms of like physical beatdown. You got to be a purist to like this one. Not a lot of baskets in that game, but it showed a lot of toughness from an Oklahoma team, even in a loss. So I'm excited to see them as they move forward. A lot of offensive skill, a lot of toughness, a lot of leadership. Another great team in the Big 12. The
Sooners, by the way, taking on Iowa State. That's at noon Eastern on ESPN2. Another team we've had our eyes on, Ohio State. The number 7 Buckeyes beat number 8 Iowa. 89-85 on the road on Thursday. The second team in the AP Poll history with 4 road wins over AP top 15 teams in a season. What are they doing that makes them so successful on the road?
Well, we're showing you making shots right now because they can get you buckets. They're one of the top 10 teams in the nation in offensive efficiency. That man, E.J. Liddell, a matchup nightmare, but they've got guards that can make plays. They had 2 freshmen come in. Zed Key, who battled with Garza, who I just said was the National Player of the Year, made it really hard for Garza at times in that game against Iowa. And then Michi Johnson, who just graduated in December, 17-year-old kid, joins the team after a couple practices, enrolls early, and he's made an impact in that game in particular. Made 2 big threes off the bench. So they're getting contributions from everywhere. Chris Holtman's an outstanding coach. And again, a lot of this comes back to, I keep saying toughness. That stuff matters. When you're in February and in these difficult games in league play, you got to be tough mentally and physically. And Ohio State has it. And Iowa could not match them. They went down 11, the Buckeyes, midway through the second half, and came back with massive counter punches and won that game going away. So I think a really impressive Ohio State team that both them and Oklahoma, everybody should have their eyes on because those 2 teams could make a deep run into March and maybe even into April.
If you're just tuning in, it's Countdown to Game Day. I'm Jason Fitz. He's Dalen Cuff. We're going to get you all the way up to Game Day. But one thing we like to do is have a little fun with some surprisingly great plays. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult, but these are surprisingly great plays brought to you by State Farm. We'll take a look at some of the best moments, and we'll start with Marvelous Maddie. God, I love the fonts they come up with on this. Central Michigan's women's baller, Maddie Waters, drives down the lane, drops the slick behind the back pass. I mean, Dalen, when somebody throws the ball to you like that, you just what do you do on the court? I don't know. I'm not athletic enough to know.
You saw her teammate smile because her teammate knew that was a nice dime right there. And it was between traffic. She had her defender on her back. She had a help defender coming. It wasn't like a 2-on-0 to nobody. It was a good little dish there.
And by the way, I love that we keep giving women's basketball some love on the show. There's some great highlights happening this season. Next up on the surprisingly great plays, they're going to ask me to read this. Bears Beasley buzzer-beating bucket. Look at that. Portland State free throw to go up by 4 over Montana. 7.8 seconds left. They miss it. Montana race down the court. Robbie Beasley heaves up to 3. I mean, what a shot. And it's not that much of a heave in today. That's just showing some deep range, right?
Yeah, he stepped into that shot. Good contest, too. He was a contested 3 to win the game. Great job by you in the alliteration of the name, though, too, and a big shot by Beasley, to say the least.
Well, you know what? I'm proving I'm professional today. I'm able to read. Let's see how it goes, though. Now I may have cursed the whole thing.
Smooth.
Yeah. Oh, I try. All right, last up on these surprisingly great plays. Take your shot. Let's show some love to the custodian. That's right. Joe Orion's finishing up his daily rounds at Liberty Benton Middle School in Ohio. The security cam caught that. Are you a trick shot guy, Dalen?
Oh.
Are you in on these trick shots? You good at them?
Not much, but I used to do those a lot, like the half court, try to shoot it naturally, but over your head, like you're shooting it forward, but flick it behind you. I've done a couple of these numbers too. The between the leg shot is always difficult from half court. I was better in these ones, and you see like the dude perfect stuff when they're throwing stuff off the wall. That I was never able to do. I never really messed with that much. But just random, just like Joe just did. You know, you're out there by yourself sometimes, you're done working out, you start messing around.
I mean, he just walked off, though. Like, cool. I mean, like, he doesn't know he's being filmed. He just walks off all nonchalant, like, yep, just another day at the office. Like, I'd be doing laps around the thing, maybe try a cartwheel. Like, there's some way that you celebrate that, right? Like, I'm just saying that maybe that's just me.
But we don't know. This may be part of Joe's routine. He gets done doing his gym, he goes out and chucks a shot or two. Maybe he does it every day. This time he nailed it, and they sent that video out.
In my world, Joe does that. All right, now we're going to run through a twist. We're going to give some ratings here. We like doing this. We'll have some fun. We're going to give dunk ratings. Now, here are your options: respectful, rude, or disrespectful, okay? So we're each going to rate it, and we'll see how this goes. We'll start with a little fun from Duke. This is Jalen Johnson dunking on Clemson's P.J. Hall. Check this one out. He's coming down the court, and away we go. All right, I'm going to call that one rude. It wasn't disrespectful, but it was definitely, I mean, the way it launches over. What's your rating on this one?
This is why it's rude. See, this is a great angle. P.J. Hall, another freshman, I just feel bad for him. My man he couldn't have jumped over a telephone book right there. Like, he had no hope of stopping this play. That's where P.J., you got to be smart. You just got to make a good, clean, hard foul, and you cannot let him pipe it on you like that. That was brutal. I think it's rude because the man he wasn't equipped to fight back. Let's just say that.
All right, let's get to the next one, and this is a little Texas love. We're going to look at Greg Brown here getting a dunk in. Like, there's not many highlights this year that Baylor doesn't love, but this is one of them. Is Greg Brown just comes in here and the elevator, and he goes, this one to me, I'm saying disrespectful on it. Like, this is just, and the little push down with the hand where he's like, get off of here. What's your rating?
This is 100% disrespectful. For the same reason I said that P.J. Hall couldn't defend himself, Jonathan Tchamwa Tchatchoua, I call him Everyday John because he brings it every day, a great shot blocker, physical guy for Baylor. My man, he thought he was going to get up and clear that thing out, and he was not. And Greg Brown, an electric freshman, really doesn't really fully understand how to play the game yet. But, man, he has some great skills and will probably be in the NBA next year. But you saw his athleticism right there. Everyday John. That does not happen to him every day. And that was disrespectful.
We both called it disrespectful, which means this gets the double whammy. This is now downright disrespectful. That's what happens when both of us actually agree on a rating. So a little bit of fun there. Also, kudos for you for saying the last name that I obviously avoided. That's downright disrespectful. Bam! Look at that. All right, we'll keep the fun going. This time with a little bit of Ole Miss love as we are rating these dunks. This is Luis Rodriguez, and they're taking on Tennessee. And look at this. Oh, nope. I want the ball. I want the ball now. I want the bucket. All right, I'm going to call this one rude. You know, it didn't really feel like Tennessee was in his way, so it was a little rude, but it wasn't that bad. What do you think?
I think it's downright disrespectful. We're not going to get that one because we both didn't say it. But it's the flex on him afterwards, a la like Pippen Ewing, mid-'90s. Anybody that's older watching this thing remembers that. Patrick Ewing getting drilled on by Pippen and then flexing on him. That's why that's disrespectful. The dunk itself was nasty. Luis Rodriguez, big-time play right there in a big game. Huge win for them over Tennessee, too, by the way. But the flex on him afterwards. Oh, check it out. We got the footage.
Ask and ye shall receive on this show. You want the footage? We got the footage, Dalen. Look at it. Okay, you're right. You know what? Maybe you're changing my mind. Maybe I was a little underneath on it.
100. And he's mean mugging him, too. Rodriguez look at the grill. Look at the grill.
Oh, that is. Now you're right. Maybe I undersold that one.
And on to win. That was in the first half. They went on to win. They played today against Auburn, 4 o'clock. ESPN 2. I'll be on the call. Shameless plug right there for you.
Look at that. That is well done by you. One more, and we'll go to USC's Isaiah Mobley here taking on Stanford. This is our last dunk as we give them a rating. And you know what? Here he comes. I just didn't think he got a lot of resistance on it, so I'm going to call it respectful. It was, he just kind of went up and said, I'm good.
Completely respectful. Almost too respectful from both parties.
Yeah,
the Stanford guy, Kacinis was just like, whatever. And Mobley's like, I'll be in the NBA next year too. I'm fine. But, Isaiah, sorry, he's the brother of the NBA. Isaiah's like, I'm just trying to do my thing at college. But that was just too easy. And it looked too easy and not that exciting. So quite respectful, I would say.
All right, so we'll take a look here at the Saturday slate of games. As you guys need to know, the action coming on. We've talked a lot about it throughout the course of the day, but we got a full slate across the ESPN networks of a bunch of games for you. Most notably, obviously, UNC Duke. Everybody's been talking about it, 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Also, don't forget to check out number 25 Drake. If you haven't watched Drake yet, I mean, they're 17-0 and one of 3 unbeaten teams left in D1, ranked for the first time since 07-08. So great slate of games coming up. Dalen Cuff, you have been spectacular filling in for us. We appreciate all the time that you've given us. Take a look here. The Game Day studio, they are ready. They are hyped. They got a big show coming up. They'll be breaking down UNC Duke, what's at stake. Plus, they'll have a one-on-one. Holly Rose sitting down with Cade Cunningham and Dr. Frankenstein's lab building the ultimate player. That's all coming up. We appreciate you hanging out with the College Game Day, countdown to Game Day, I should say. We are covered by State Farm. Dalen Cuff, I'm Jason Fitz. Stick right here. Watch Game Day and watch all the great college basketball action coming up today. Thanks for hanging out with us.